everybody, welcome back. Today it's a very special video. As you can see, I'm here next to my Christmas tree because Christmas is coming, and the best way to talk about Christmas as far as English literature is concerned is obviously to talk and analyze one of the most famous stories which has been actually interpreted and reinterpreted, and there are many movies also set in a modern environment. This is a very modern story. It was written in 1848 by Charles Dickens, and obviously I'm talking about A Christmas Carol. Christmas Carol talks about England, during you can say 1840s, so during Victorian Age, and it is very we can say it's a strong allegory. It is sort of an episodic narrative with a very strong symbolic meaning. Now, obviously, the most representative elements of this symbolic meaning are the three spirits guides. So the three ghosts, we can say so. The ghost of the Christmas past, Christmas present, and the Christmas yet to come. They come and visit our protagonist, Ebenezer Scrooge, who is the symbol of greed, of lack of compassion, lack of empathy, of the lack of Christmas spirit, of pity. And when I'm talking about pity, I'm also talking about a very wide theme, a very wide feeling, which is connected to the Latin word pietas, which doesn't have a specific religious meaning, but it means consideration and empathy. It's not just religious, but it's a human feeling, it's a human attitude, better. So the first spirit guide, the Christmas past, with its glowing head, it represents obviously memory. And it connects our main character, our protagonist, to a period in which he could still feel empathy, could still feel pietas, so sort of a feeling or anyway love towards other human beings. Then the second spirit guide is Christmas present. So Christmas present is obviously the symbol of charity, symbol of empathy, as we said before, of Christmas spirit in general. And the final spirit, so Christmas yet to come. Pay attention, it doesn't use the word future, Christmas past, Christmas present, Christmas future. He uses the expression yet to come. So it is something that is there, waiting for us. It could be sort of something that condemns us eventually, to a terrible death or to a punishment, or eventually we can change our destiny. So this is a very interesting expression, a very interesting choice. Anyway, the Christmas yet to come is quite Reaper-like, and it represents obviously the fear of death. Scrooge, Ebenezer Scrooge, as I said before, symbolizes greed and selfishness, and as I said before, lack of consideration and compassion for others. So he also represents a very specific side, a very specific part of society, Victorian society. And we know that the most important social class, middle class, upper middle class, and work was a very important value, moral value, we can say so. But there was a point, well, something changed, okay, and work wasn't a positive value, okay, it became a negative value, it became exploitation of other people, exploitation of the poor classes, okay, and that part of society is strongly criticized by Dickens, and Scrooge represents exactly that part of society, okay, very greedy, okay, and very selfish. Now, the message is a positive message because basically it says that even insensitive people can be converted, can be redeemed, can be converted into charitable, caring people, and we can say socially conscious members of a community, of society, which is absolutely important. And so we can say that this work, again, as every single work by Charles Dickens, represents some moral values. And these moral values are obviously associated with Christmas, but they are also the moral values that Victorian society tried to emphasize with its very strict moral codes and with we can say its great attention to manners and to sort of a behavior and an attitude. Most of the time it was connected with appearance, okay, but anyway, those values were absolutely emphasized and celebrated, and I'm talking of generosity, I'm talking of kindness, I'm talking about human love, and so on and so on. Dickens's view of Christmas, his perspective of Christmas, was very modern, because it is less connected with solemn religious ceremony, and it's more connected with an idea of sharing, okay, of festivity, of a very joyful feeling, and also it also displays prosperity, which was something very important at this time during the Victorian Age. In fact, there is always a political or economical and social interpretation of Dickens's works. We know that. We already talked about that during my other video about Dickens. We talked about his biography and his main works, his main themes, and we know that he criticized his society. He criticized very strongly some aspects of his society, injustices and exploitation of the poor social classes, of children too, so the problem of orphans and the ill treatment of children in these high schools. And he talked also about the injustice of the penal code, for example. He talked about pollution. So he talked about many themes. He criticized this society. But on the other side, I've always said, and I repeat it now, that he doesn't have a revolutionary intent, because he loves his society, after all. He believes that it's the best world possible. After all, he started from a very low position with his father in prison for debts, and he had to work when he was a child. But then he could finally experience a social, economical improvement. Okay, he could become a journalist, he could become a writer, and so the situation can always be changed, okay, can always develop, and it depends on hard work and a strong moral code, strong moral ideals, and this is why society gives always hope. Okay, so this is Dickens's idea. He is always criticizing the dark sides in a very strong way, but anyway, he always gives hope, because he also believes that this society is able to grant a chance to change, okay, to people. So also in this case, the political side is very strong, okay, especially the family, okay, that works the man that works for Scrooge is exploited. Okay, the Cratchit family is the symbol, the embodiment of exploitation of the poor social classes, of poor families. And especially the most emphasized character is probably the pure-hearted, crippled, tiny Tim. Okay, this child that is ill, and so, but he is also so full of love and positive feelings, and we can say that he is the trigger that changes, okay, the attitude of Scrooge towards not just Christmas, but towards people, towards humanity. We can say that Scrooge breaks through his emotional barricade. Okay, you can say it was in stave 3, so in the third section, and it was because of his pity for Tim, and we can say that his final redemption is especially symbolized by his figurative adoption of the kid. Okay, he becomes a sort of a second father for the tiny Tim, and this is the symbol of his final redemption, which is quite interesting and very metaphorical. Now, there are obviously a lot of symbols, and the structure of the work is also very well organized and detailed, but especially there is one aspect that is very interesting to mention, so the use of the different settings of places. So one place that is very interesting is obviously London. Okay, so especially Christmas present shows Scrooge the dark sides of London. Okay, London of the time of the Victorian Age. Okay, so the poor areas where Dickens lived when he was young, when he was a child. So this is very interesting. And then Scrooge had just the opportunity to see, okay, very quickly other environments, also very poor, often forgotten. Okay, and I'm talking about, for example, miners, or the lighthouse keepers, or sailors with their rough way to celebrate holidays. So this is also quite interesting. It's a strong juxtaposition, okay, between the rich side of London and of society at the time, and the poor one, obviously. Then the second setting is the childhood house, okay, childhood home. In fact, Scrooge is taken from his bedroom, and he is delivered back to his childhood home, childhood house. That was Dickens' childhood house. So this is also very interesting, and it's a very important element as far as his biography is concerned. We are talking about the west of London, and a place called Rochester, and so this is also quite symbolic also for him, quite emotional also for the author in this case. Then the third place, quite important, is obviously the churchyard and cemetery. Okay, the churchyard where Scrooge can see his grave, his future grave, and he can see his name on the tombstone. And this is also the symbol of how future can change. So something that looks quite immutable, okay, like a name in the stone, can, on the other side, represent the possibility, the chance to change our future, okay, while we change our attitude, our way of being. So this is quite interesting, okay, because with this juxtaposition, Dickens emphasizes the way how future isn't immutable, as we could eventually think or believe sometime. Quite interesting is also his counting house, his office, basically. because it appears at the very beginning and also at the end of the story. So it's a sort of a cyclic path, a cyclic plot in this case. We start from a place and we get back to the same place, but in two different, completely different, opposite ways. And first part, okay, at the very beginning, the office is a very cold place, it's dark, it's cold, there's just a little flame that can't provide any kind of warmth or light even. At the end of the story, the same office is full of physical, of human, of emotional warmth, and obviously also holiday cheer. So this is my wish for you, okay, to be always in places full of warmth, of love, and of Christmas spirit. So best wishes to everybody. Bye.